What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Key of Threes stream. I'm happy to be here today with three of my guys. How we doing? Garrett?
Pretty good. Glad to be back. I feel like it's been the first time in a while me and you have been on a stream, and then last time, first time with Steph. So, and I've been on a couple with Devin. So, yeah.
Yeah, Steph, glad to be on a stream together again, just like last Tuesday. Hope it's just as good. How you feeling this evening?
Pretty good, pretty good. Good start to the week. We on the three streak. Yeah, three stream streak. So you're gonna keep it going.
Cool. I know I keep missing these Fridays, but hopefully one day I can make one. But yeah, then we got Devin in here, run the NBA. How's it going over there?
Doing pretty good. It's mid-November. The Raptors are still winning. There's no snow on the ground in the middle of nowhere, Canada. So we'll take it. We'll take it.
Yeah, we might have to talk about them a little bit today. It's been rare the last couple of years that I've had a lot of positive things to say, so keep that one in mind. We do have a couple conversations today, one of which may be spoilers, but might be talking about some favorites over in the East. But first big thing we wanted to start with today is we do have some players who have already returned recently, but also some players who are about to make their returns. And the question we have is, how is that going to impact their team? So really wanted to start with the big one, as you know, has been in the news. LeBron still has missed the start of the season with his sciatica issues, and then more recently got assigned to the G League and is now making his return imminently. So just going to throw it to you guys. Is LeBron going to ruin the Lakers' chemistry?
I want to hear the Laker fan first.
Okay.
Short answer, no. A long form answer, no, because few reasons. We've seen Bron off ball. It worked pretty well for us in a time where people were saying we need him to be more off ball. I believe it was 2021, 2022. We saw him move to the 5 if we needed to play small ball. Worked pretty well for us. And I say that because our big position is awful. It's just terrible. But 3, and the biggest point for me, and I've seen this as a conversation talking point, and I don't understand it because we praise Bron for being one of, if not the smartest basketball player of all time. So why would he not be able to coexist with another player that's like him, just of course without the athleticism on that side? But also, and this is the most important point, and I'm gonna let you guys go from here. Bron has wanted to be in the back seat for the past 3-4 years. He's been wanting to do that. He hasn't wanted to carry the torch the way he has been for the last few years. He's been forced to do that because AD's been out with injury. Even when AD is playing, there's times where he's high, there's times where he's low. So some nights it was a Bron night, some nights it was an AD night. But now, sitting down, he was able to see, oh, I can really sit back. I could sit in a dunker spot. I could sit off ball. I can play make from a different point of view, and I think it'll work. Now, first couple games might look a little weird, but it's their first time on court together, first time he's healthy on court, and it'll take some time, but we'll be perfectly fine. It'll make us that much better.
Yeah. I mean, just from my perspective, I feel like, as you said, now he's seen that he can take that back seat. And so I think the real question is, how much is he going to? I think he definitely will compared to Luka. The biggest thing I'm looking at, and I've said it before, is just Austin Reeves. And the way Austin Reeves is played right now, I mean, he's averaging like just under 30 points a game, an efficient 3-level scorer. He's been getting to the line with, he's probably top 5 in the league in free throw attempts so far this season. Which is pretty crazy to think, especially when you're playing alongside another guy who does that in Luka, that he's finding his way to the line. So if I'm like LeBron, that's kind of the biggest thing I don't want to really interfere with. But at the same time, they need him. They need him to be one of the top 3 scoring options. But I wouldn't even be totally opposed if he is that third option behind Austin Reeves in terms of looking for his own, essentially. He's going to be like the primary playmaker when Luka's not there, and secondary playmaker probably when Luka is there. So just kind of not getting in the way of that. I don't want it to be something where like, okay, LeBron comes back and yeah, he's averaging 25, but the team that was 10-4 at one point, now they've won like 6 of the last 14 or 15. And now they're coming closer to 500 and Austin Reeves looks like he's not as great. Cause I mean, I know you never said this, but I know that there are a lot of Laker fans who said for a while that Austin Reeves, like, yeah, he's just not that guy. And they blamed him a lot last year for the playoffs and stuff. Now you're seeing that he can be. So my biggest thing is like, don't interfere with that. And then I think the Lakers can be rolling. I do think everyone's numbers are going to go down. That's a given just because like LeBron is going to get more of those opportunities. But that's kind of the biggest thing, just not kind of messing up his flow.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be the most interesting dynamic. I mean, LeBron's made it clear that Luka's the guy now. He's going to be the number one, and he's spoken with that in his actions on the court, and he's spoken about that off the court. So I don't think that's going to be any surprise. Like you say, it's just going to be that dynamic between him and Reeves and who becomes more of the assertive, regular second option on offense. And it may not be a consistent second option. They might flip-flop on a night-to-night basis, but I do think they'll be able to find some amount of chemistry there and be able to find a balance where that works. And I mean, the numbers back at LeBron's assisted offensive makes have just continued to go up over the last few years in LA. His twos that were assisted last year went back down again, but I mean, he was up to 70% of his threes nearly being assisted last year, which was a career high for him since his rookie years. So it's clearly been trending in that direction, and Austin Reeves continuing to be better this year is only going to help in that. And of course, we just mentioned about how they're going to play together, but it's certainly going to make things easier on nights where they do have a minor injury again, or you get someone in foul trouble. You're not now having to manage Luka and or Reeves at the very least have to be on the floor to create offense for us. Now you get Braun back, who you can still run things through in certain lineups and certain rotations, and that's certainly going to help things a lot as well.
I'd like to also add, like with Austin Reeves, like to the point that you were saying, Garrett, or echoing rather, because that's not your point. But the thing about Austin Reeves, like more often than not, it's not that he's shrinking; he's taking a back seat. He's. I mean, I guess you can say that's shrinking, but I more so mean he's not shrinking under pressure. He's more so pulling his game back for the others. Whereas now I think he should keep doing what he's doing. Let Bron, coexist, next to them as opposed to him coexisting next to Bron and Luka. And like I said before, off-ball Bron was very good. And if I'm not mistaken, last year he shot just under 40% on catch and shoot shots. So he's elite off the ball just as much as he is on ball. And as he's gotten older, he's only gotten better. So I'm excited to see what they come up with. But even further, and I said this a couple of streams ago, JJ's made me a believer. I know he could bring it all together. Now, if we had Darvin Ham, then I'd be questioning a little bit more. I'd be a little bit more tentative about it, because it would be like, okay, how is he going to help bring this all together? Instead, JJ is going to use Bron as a connector, as Bron has wanted to be. I think it'll work out for the better for the Lakers.
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about this. Real quick, got to shout out Jay. Thanks for hopping in chat, Jay. We got to get on the stream together soon, man. Jay's always on Fridays, and I'm always on Tuesdays. I miss seeing this man's opinions on stream, but. Yeah, just for my take on the Lakers, I feel like LeBron's just going to be such a big boost on the offensive end of things. And I think the defense mainly comes down to schemes. I'm a believer in JJ. I think last year, he had them playing some solid defense, even when they didn't have personnel. And I do think that the personnel this season is a step better. But on that offensive end, I mean, you're bringing in a top 5 playmaker ever, and you're already next to Luka, who's, a great hub to where I think that, as you mentioned with LeBron as that connector piece, I feel like he can fit into that offense anywhere. I mean, he's just continued to become better as a shooter throughout his career. So, of course, he's going to be comfortable, as you mentioned earlier, with the 3 points assisted percentage. He's going to be open to whether it's coming off a screen or being in the corner for a second. I think that he'll just be able to be passive enough to specifically allow Austin Reeves to be a focal point of the offense and make sure that more is ran through him. I think another big thing is just the lineup staggering. I feel like the way that they're going to be able to split it up with, probably having two of their top three guys on the court at all times and just, having two guys who can really attack you and hurt you in the long run. Or at the very least, I mean, even if they really need to get them some rest, at least one is probably always going to be out there. So, at any given time, you have a guy who can go off for an offensive explosion on the court. And I think that's just a really scary sight for the opposing team because it really gives you no moments of rest. And that's kind of been one of the only weaknesses with the Lakers when they were, going through their injuries. It wasn't really a testament to the team as a whole, but just kind of the situation they were in. So just being able to have these guys available right now, I think they're like the 17th ranked offense or something like that. So just being able to get that boost of a LeBron James coming into your offense, I think will greatly, increase their efficiency and overall impact on that end.
Yeah, just for the sake of, Austin Reeves, I know as you guys have praised JJ, I do think, maybe I'm in the minority here. I do think that part of last playoffs falls on him. And yeah, it was his first year, but he kind of was just like throwing out whatever he needed to do. In fact, like the no big rotation in some of those games, which ended up hurting him. But I think like strategies like that where you haven't really rehearsed much throughout the course of the season and then you're kind of just throwing the fence for half of a playoff series can come back to hurt you, and it can affect the way players like Austin Reeves plays. So that's my other thing too. Like when it comes to LeBron, it's like, how is he going to assert him? I know you said, Gabe, like he's going to still prioritize like Austin Reeves. He's not going to mess up that flow. And I just want to like reiterate that, because assuming he doesn't, then I think that everything should be pretty good. But if he, does, then I mean, we're going to have a different conversation.
I think he's just one of the smartest players ever, man. Like when your basketball IQ is that high and you see what works, this man's been begging to not be the best player on his team for years. He wanted AD to take that torch years ago, and he never did. And now you're telling him he can come back and be a third option? I mean, he's probably still a better player than Austin Reeves right now, but on a night-to-night basis, there are probably a lot of nights where he can be like, all right, cool. I'm the third option. If you need me to kind of go vintage Brown in the playoffs, and maybe I can give you a couple games there, but at least for the 82, I mean, he's probably going to go into the playoffs a lot more well-rested because he really can just fall back, pass the ball, shoot when he's open, just play within the flow of the offense. But you're really not going to need to see those superhuman efforts because, I mean, they got a superhuman at point guard right now. Like, I think he's going to be very pleased and able to buy into the situation as a whole.
No, that's for sure. I couldn't say it better. But to take it a step further, he's the one that popularized positionless basketball. Why wouldn't he be able to fit in anywhere? He's the prototype to all of these unicorns we're seeing right now. He's the reason we see a Luka right now. Like, there's I don't know. I see people say he's gonna mess it up. It's not gonna work. I don't get it.
I hear what you're saying, although I don't know if he is the one who popped. Like, he's not the first one who did. Because you look at Magic, you look at Oscar,
for sure.
In my opinion. I mean, in this era, sure, but I just want to make a point of that. I got to respect my elders.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, well, with that, we can transition off LeBron. Did want to talk about our next player who, Garrett, I know that you were specifically interested in talking about. So I'm going to throw this one over to you as our resident Bulls fan, but we are going to see the return of Kobe White to the roster. So with his return, I know the Bulls started off really hot, then have recently cooled off quite a bit. So how do you think they're, going to turn around with him in the lineup?
Yeah, and so, I mean, just kind of to start off that, so he made his actual season debut Sunday against the Jazz in the double overtime game that shouldn't have even went to 2 overtimes, and the game we should have won, but we didn't, and kept me up an hour just to see an L. But anyways, like, this is, well, for one, too, his minutes restriction that he had, it was set at like 25 minutes. He ended up playing 30 minutes in that game, so there was maybe some concern that, pushing him a little bit too far when it's not like he just hasn't played all season. He didn't play in the summer either, really, because he was recovering from injury as well. But I mean, he looked pretty good in my opinion, probably even a little bit better than last season, his shot wasn't totally falling, but I didn't hate the shots that he took. He just seems like a player that's not going to disrupt what the team has going for him. I think that he wasn't the reason we lost the game by any means, because he had 27 points and like 8 assists and 4 rebounds, I think. And he went actually perfect from the free throw line. I think like 14 of 14, which that's pretty crazy to do in any instance, especially when you've missed like 6 months and you come in first game. And then he hit that, I don't know if you guys saw the game tying shot in overtime. So I think that he's definitely going to be huge if we want to make a playoff push. I think that he's definitely our primary scoring option when everyone's healthy. And I think you could probably say he's our second best player if it's him or Giddey. But we're definitely going to need him to step into that role, because it's not like players have been playing bad, but he definitely gives us more of a boost than someone like Kevin Huerter, someone like Isaac Okoro, who've been playing that 2-3, that Ayo Dosunmu position. Literally the other day we played Javon Carter the day after, and we ended up winning against Denver, but he hadn't played like hardly all year. And then he gets in against the Nuggets. Why? Because Kobe White had to play so many minutes against the Jazz that his minutes restriction had him exceeded so much that, okay, we're not going to play him on a back-to-back, which he might not have played anyways, but he definitely wasn't going to play after a double overtime like that. So I like what he brings our team. I think that just more games under his belt is going to help out. And we actually have a pretty good stretch coming up. I think like the last 5-6 games before the Jazz won, like we had Spurs, Sixers, the Bucks, the Cavs. Like those are pretty difficult teams to play, because you're looking at like Giannis and Wemby, who, I mean, especially us against bigs like that, like we just don't really fare well that often. So, yeah, man, I like what I'm seeing from the team, and I think Kobe White's going to be a huge add for us that we really need. And anything to get the ball out of Patrick Williams' hands more and more. So there we go.
Let me throw this out there, and then let's just, because then Devin and Steph, you guys can tell me how you think the Bulls are about to do over this next stretch. Just with Garrett bringing that up, this is the upcoming stretch of games for the Bulls. They have at Trailblazers, home against Miami, home against Washington, then at Pelicans, at Hornets, at Pacers, at Magic, home against the Nets, home against the Pacers. And that takes them through like December 5th. So looks like that's their next like 8 games or so. You think they're about to cook or
6? I think we can win like 6 of those 8 or 9 games. I don't think it's crazy.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, probably should, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of Pacers or Wizards or whatnot in there that are teams you certainly expect to win against, right? So I think it's a good time for to be able to integrate Kobe back into the lineup and get him into the rotation while you're in some of those matchups where maybe you have a little bit more leeway to have a few mental hiccups that may come from that. But generally speaking, like you said, Garrett, I think this is going to be a great return for them. Giddey's been great, and there's been some good supplemental guard play around him. Ayo Dosunmu especially has been great this year, but they do really lack at times another guard who can be next to Giddey, who A, can also be a very good ball handler and playmaker, but B, who can also shoot the 3. They have a lot of guys who can do one or the other at a pretty good level, although Huerter you'd like to throw in the 3-point camp, and that hasn't happened yet this year. But Kobe White's now going to be someone who can do both, who you can have next to Giddey, who can slide in off ball, can run the offense by himself at times if you need in certain rotations. And I think that's going to be super valuable for them, just giving them a little bit more of a dynamic to that offense that isn't only Giddey as a dual threat option from their guards right now. I think that's going to be the biggest thing they'll get with Kobe White back. And it shouldn't really hinder Josh Giddey's style that much, because he's able to have more of that off-ball role as needed and to be able to play them pretty comfortably. So, I mean, between that and like you just read out there, Gabe, with their schedule coming up, I think they should be able to put a pretty good run together over the next few weeks, and Kobe White should be able to fit into that quite well.
I just want to bring up one thing, and then you can go, Steph, because I think when you were listing all the things that Kobe White adds to the team, I feel like a lot of people just don't really give him credit as a defender either. I'm not saying he's like some all-league defensive level guard, but I feel like he can definitely hold his own, and people just make it seem like he's just some other guy and stuff. Like, I see him play, and he plays hard on defense. So I just want to say, like, that's another way that I think he helps us out that maybe we didn't really totally have.
You guys good?
Yeah.
I'm ready to break some freaking hearts because this team screams crash and freaking burn.
Hey,
Now,
you need
listen.
full screen? You need full
No,
screen for
it's
this?
okay. It's okay.
Okay.
It's
okay.
early in the show. We good. But I will say this. Yes, you should go on a run. I will give you guys that. And everything you guys said is true. But this team screams mediocrity. That's just what it is at the top of the board. Nikola Vucic, however you say the man's name. Vucevic, that guy. Mediocre as it gets. Great starting big, but that's as high as it gets. That's the ceiling. Isaac freaking Okoro, are you kidding me? No, I don't even need to talk about that guy. Love Matas Buzelis. Love him as a player. I like the draft pick coming in. I love Kobe White. And this is about Kobe White and what he brings to the team. And he will help this team win more games than what I originally thought. I think a stream ago or 2 streams ago, I said this would be a play-in team. But it will be a lot of ups and downs. It will be a roller coaster. And to me, that's just what it is with this team. Not because, there isn't talent, but because the bulk of your talent outside of your main guys are mediocre guys, in my humblest of opinion.
Well, and let me just say too, I'm not going to sit up here and act like the Bulls are going to win the championship or anything like that. Like we can't even win the in-season tournament. We already lost one of those 2 games. I'm like, bro, give me 4 good games. 4 just to get in there.
Hey, here's your 4.
Like spend some dough, make some whatever. But anyway, just get there and then give me some life. We can't even do that. But can we get to the playoffs? I would hope so, because even though Billy Donovan, I don't like as a coach either. And man, I got some great quotes from him after that Utah Jazz game that I'm like, this guy's crazy. I've been doing this. I don't know if I told all you guys, but I told Jay, and I think I might have told. Actually, I think I did tell you. I don't know if I told Gabe. I've been taking some quotes now from press conferences after games, especially from the coaches, that I'm like, what is this dude saying? So Billy Donovan's been added to my list a lot, especially after that most recent game. But just in my opinion, you look at Giddey, you look at Kobe White, you look at Buzelis, you look at Trey Jones, you look at, in my opinion, Julian Phillips. I don't know why he hasn't got like a whole lot of playing time, it feels like, this year. I think those are a good 5-6 guys in the core that can get us started. And even if we make a playoff appearance this year, I think that next year or 2, it's going to be about growth and development for the team. That Vucevic, he's not going to be here long term. He's 35 years old. He's been maybe a little bit better defensively in this stage of his career than people could have expected. I know he's not great, but I'm just saying he's a little bit better at this stage of his career than people might have thought. And Kevin Huerter, it's whatever, cool. But these are not the guys who are going to bring us the next great era of Bulls basketball, because right now they're just in that midland. So I do agree with you, but I think we can hopefully finally make the playoffs. Can we just get there this season and I'm good?
All right, let me tell you something here. First of all, I have to make an apology. I guess I should have set a reminder. My bad.
I even asked Gabe. I said, "Is Megan coming?" He said, she should be."
I thought she was gonna be here, but Garrett, I think you're missing really one important piece to this Bulls puzzle, and that's the guy who's gonna be playing power forward for you in March and in April, and his name's Anthony Davis, and Kobe White is about to be.
Yeah, whoa!
Wait,
you sure he's gonna be playing? Are you sure he's gonna be playing? He's gonna be playing basketball.
That's for one. Two, if we trade for Anthony Davis, Kobe White is not going, bro.
Kobe and
White's
Matas.
more valuable. White's more valuable than AD at this point in time.
Bro. Kobe's about to be a Dallas Maverick. He's going to be the point guard next to Cooper Flag.
I wouldn't trade Kobe White for AD straight up, bro. Let alone people want. I've seen these Mavericks trade rumors. They're like, oh, we want Vucevic too, and we want Buzelis, and we want 3 first-round picks. Bro, just take my heart too, okay?
Hold up. But what if you get Max Christie though? Then is Kobe White Luka? Isn't Kobe White Luka? Is that like the same value?
Yeah, AD and Max Christie for Kobe White, Vucevic, Buzelis, and 3 first round picks.
Not all those guys.
I'm gonna do what Mavericks fans did when Luka got traded, bro.
All right. All I know is there's been a lot of smoke there, and if AD gets there, yeah, the Bulls are cooked, man. That'd be the worst decision I've ever seen in my life.
Well, my thing is too, I don't totally hate AD. You know what I mean? But for the right price, I'll take AD for the right price because let's face it. Yeah, Kobe White's not the right price. Now, if we were talking like something around Vucevic, I don't even hate that because Vucevic is going to play more, but at the end of the day, AD is a better player. And it's not like we're going to win a championship with either of them anyways.
You're
Maybe
doing
we
what
have a better
Lakers
chance
fans do. You're doing what Lakers fans do when they throw Jokic in trades. Because that was the most lopsided. This man said AD.
I'm not saying a one for
AD
one.
for Vooch.
But I'm saying like if we gave up Vucevic, give up a couple picks. We're not giving up 3 first-round picks like Dallas wants, and maybe like some guys near the end of the bench like that could be making money. Like if you
have to give up a guard though.
We might have to, and I don't know. I mean, we'll see what the Kobe White situation brings because one of these guys like Io, Trey Jones, they might get less minutes on the team.
What if they want Patrick Williams?
Take him. I don't care. Right. I'll give him. I'll give them Patrick Williams for nothing.
For nothing.
Would
you attach a pick to him to get him off the team?
No, I don't even. It's no.
You had to think about it.
It's crazy.
You did have to think about it, but I think we're way off track with the original.
I'll attach the front office in the trade. How about that? Oh my God. They need help. They need a replacement for Nico, right?
All right. Well, I do want to go to another guy who actually did make his season debut. And that'd be Paul George over in Philly. They, started the season. I think expectations were low. Paul George had his injury. Embiid was kind of on like his minutes restriction. Couldn't jump. A lot of weird stuff. But then they were shockingly good. Tyrese Maxey was playing at an all-NBA caliber. VJ Edgecombe is looking like your rookie of the year. And overall, just, a lot of great things going on there that we did not expect. So now reintroducing Paul George into the fold. Is Paul George a Sixer at the end of the season? Is he going to be there? And if so, how's that going to go?
I want to hear what Devin has to say first on this for some reason.
Well, for starters, I don't think there's any world they can get rid of Paul George at this rate. So he's probably there by virtue of he's stuck there. Whether they want him there, that's a whole other discussion. I don't want him there at this point because I think they have a very fun young team, and I want them to be able to transition to the next era. If Embiid's quasi-healthy enough to be able to somewhat contribute to that, sure, but he's not the focal point anymore, nor he can't be one, but he also shouldn't be. Maxey's proving that he is that guy. He's been absolutely electric to start the season, and he's on another level than we've ever seen from him. It's time for him to fully take those keys, and he's doing it because Embiid can't be on the floor enough. Edgecombe, as you just mentioned, Gabe, he's having an amazing rookie season as well. It's time for him to be able to come in and be a number 2. And Quentin Grimes has been great as well. I mean, that was the less talked about terrible blunder from Nico Harrison and that Mavericks front office last trade deadline, and he's been brilliant for them. And all he had to give up was a Martin win. Like it's been great from what they've done in the front office over the last 8 to 12 months. Getting VJ, having Grimes there, you continue to be able to maintain Kelly Oubre on a very cheap contract somehow. They've brought in some good depth forwards who have provided some good play this year, like Trendon Watford dropping one of the more random triple doubles you're going to see. They've been very good at acquiring their young talent and having their depth pieces there. Paul George is just the very, very poor blunder in this stretch. Hopefully he can at least be a serviceable 3-point shooter and floor spacer for them this year. Who knows what you get outside of that? I'm not really hopeful for much, and I really wish they could just turn the corner right now and move into that next era. But Paul George is stuck there. He just is. There's no way they're able to move off that contract right now. But he's going to be there, and they're going to have to try and maximize whatever they can get so he's at least somewhat productive.
Can they pull a Damian Lillard?
They could.
Would they want to?
I don't know that it's as advantageous for them. I think they're still going to be I mean, they'd be able to get some amount of flexibility, but as long as Embiid's still there with Maxey, with a few other guys, they're still going to be, pretty significant salaries regardless. So
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking like really cool.
I just don't think if Maxey's still there, especially with him and Edgecombe, that you're talking like Dame to Philly. I don't know if that much really makes sense.
No, like a buy-in stretch, like a buyout, like what the Bucks did.
Wait, so elaborate. Sorry, because I'm.
Are you aware of how Damian Lillard ended up no longer on the Bucks?
Yeah.
Okay, so what if the Sixers did?
Oh, you mean that with Paul George? Okay.
Yes.
I thought you meant like moving off Paul George for Dame. I'm like, Dame doesn't fit.
I don't think that contract matches up. I don't think the position fit matches up.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Dame is not leaving Portland again. By the way, he did his D-Wade. He did his D-Wade to Chicago, and he's back, and he ain't leaving.
I was like, I'm good, bro. I shouldn't have listened to them when they talk about he needs a ring.
Running from the grind, he shouldn't have ran.
He ran back to the grind.
He did.
With that,
Steph, what do you say?
With that said, I echo pretty much everything Devin says, but even further, further than the guys you guys named, there's guys on this team that are exciting. Justin Edwards, I tweeted about him the other night. He started the game 8 for 8 from 3. Absolutely had a coming out party. Of course, y'all mentioned VJ Edgecombe. We haven't seen some of their other younger guys too much, but to your guys' point, it's time for that new era. Like, I will say this, in watching Embiid with these guys, he has been able to coexist. He recognizes he's not the same Embiid that he was of years past, but he can still get you 25 a night. He still has, been pretty serviceable for them when he's available. So I think, he's okay. But with regard to PG, he's cooked. He's washed. Podcast P. That's what he is. That's where his mind is, because, basketball players talk about it all the time. Athletes in general talk about it all the time. When your mind's in it, it's a lot easier to come back from injury. It's a lot easier to, go to recovery, do the things you have to do to come back. And the way that he's just had a reoccurring issue after issue after issue, and he's only getting older. He's 35 at this point. You're done. Get your last check while you can, and I think it's a wrap. Does he have a player option at the end of his deal, or is that a team option?
Yeah, it's 27, 28. So he has
no way he opts out of that.
2 more years after this one that he's going to be making that salary.
Gee, 56?
56 too, dude. Oh my gosh. Because I feel like on their current timeline, like that'd be when they're kind of trying to compete. I'm not going to lie. I mean, hopefully at that point, there's just some team who's like incredibly sorry and they can just do like a salary dump.
Is Daryl Morey still their GM?
Pretty sure.
Believe so.
He is.
He might be able to. I don't know.
I think
Brooklyn.
What you were saying.
Get Nick Claxton. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. But I was gonna kind of allude to like one of the points you made about like with Embiid and Paul George. Like Embiid, especially, like we've seen, he's been able to kind of not get in the way like so far this season. It kind of reminds me like if he can do the same thing that maybe, not to get like totally old school, but when like Reggie Miller on the Pacers and like guys like Travis Best, like they were elite for the team in the mid 90s, like when they made those conference finals runs, and then they eventually got to a finals run 5 or so years later. But I think people forget, like they look at the team and they're like, that's Reggie Miller's team. But really, you could argue like that was Jalen Rose at his best. And then later on, Jermaine O'Neal and like Al Harrington, Brad Miller, Ron Artest, like the other guys came in and they were filling their role. I'm not saying like all those guys are better than Reggie Miller or anything, because that's crazy. But he probably was like the 3rd best player on the team in 2004 when they had Jermaine O'Neal and Ron Artest. And I think with this Sixers team, like it's, first of all, Tyrese Maxey is the best player on the team now, in my opinion. And I'm not saying VJ Edgecombe is that 2nd best player yet, but he should be built up into being that. Whereas someone like Embiid, it's like maybe he doesn't need to do quite as much scoring, doesn't need to do quite as much isolation. And I feel like, honestly, for so many years when there was so much, running through him every single play, like it probably led to him getting injured more often. So maybe that's like what they need. And I just think the ball moves a little bit better too. When you have a guy like Maxey, who's probably the quickest player in the league. If not, he's like a top 3 quickest player in the league. He's been an elite playmaker through all of his teammates. The ball moves a lot better. Like even guys like Quentin Grimes and like he's hitting threes on a shred, and then Kelly Oubre and then Bona like off the bench. Like everyone's really thriving on this team, I think, right now. And I don't know if you saw as many people thrive when the team was centered around Joel Embiid. Like sometimes it's like, well, Embiid has no help, and then Embiid gets hurt. That's like what a lot of the claims were later in the offseason. Then some people would say, well, Embiid just choked in the playoffs, which sometimes he did. Sometimes he just got hurt. I think right now it's like a way better it's way better to bank on Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe and some of these young guys. Didn't even really talk about Jared McCain, who he's part of this young core too. So I think that's kind of like where Philly is at.
Got a lot of pieces. I feel like they'll end up in a good spot either way. It's just going to get weird, like at a certain point with the contracts. But for this season, I think they'll be fine with Paul George. The other guys, I don't think it's going to take away from what they're doing. It might just end up being a bad contract, but I don't think it'll hurt the team per se.
5th option, Paul George. Yeah.
Okay.
I was joking a little bit, but they could really, if the Nets are willing, because I think MPJ's contract goes to when Paul George's does as well. If you're able to, you could try to. If they're really just like, we just want some exciting basketball. We don't care if we win.
Okay. Well, next player wanted to go over to transition away. Jalen Williams eventually might be coming back to the OKC Thunder. He let us know the other day that he is indeed still on the team. And obviously, this team is not losing any games. And naturally, something you may look at is when you reinsert a player into the lineup, even if they are a really good player, sometimes there's a bit of an adjustment period. Do you think it's really going to affect OKC like at all? Or do you think they're still going to stay on this just like we're just not losing games?
It's about to be insane because J-Dub is about to turn a corner that we didn't realize was on the way. Like you said, there's going to be a little bit of rustiness, a little bit of, get the monkey off your back, probably first couple games. But on those nights where SGA, probably doesn't have it the same way he does on other nights where he can walk into 35 points, J-Dub is going to show us and solidify I'm the best number 2 in the league. Kind of like what we saw Jaylen Brown do in their championship run, where he kind of came out and was like, no, I belong. I'm right next to this guy. I'm one of the best with him in the league. We're one of the best duos. And if you've watched me on the channel, J-Dub is one of my guys. Loved him since the beginning. So I think he only adds to this team, especially shooting-wise.
Yeah, just one thing I'll add, because I echo pretty much everything that you said. I do think like right when he comes back, I wouldn't be surprised if they drop a couple games, even though they've only dropped one so far. But you're going to have a guy who's probably on a minutes restriction, probably going to be getting those touches like the second option in the offense. And then, like I was saying earlier, like just the weird dynamics that could create for those first couple games. But they're a really good team. They're the NBA champions, so they're going to figure it out. And I think like after maybe like a week and a half or 2 weeks of them playing together, like it's going to be the same old thing, and they're going to be rolling again. So
yeah, no, there's zero concerns in my eyes. Like you say, there might be, as there is with a lot of big names coming back, that little adjustment period, but they know how to play with the dude. He fits in very well in whatever role he needs to play on any given night. They're going to be continuing to cruise once he gets settled back in.
Yeah, I think they're just a little bit too good. Like at worst, if they have an off night because of a transition, maybe Shea plays the fourth quarter. But I think that's about as far as it goes. I think I saw a stat today where he's like skipped like 8 fourth quarters or something. And they played 14 games. It's been ridiculous. Dang near.
Hey, that's like though. You know, that reminds me of at least.
I know. I
Mhm.
know. We don't even got to say it.
But what do you think about that though?
I think that this team is probably going to win a lot of games just like that team did.
I don't think they'll win more games than that team. I think they'll be right around that 70. But
Well, I wasn't on stream on Friday. I know you guys talked about that a little bit.
That I just wanted to allude to that again though.
Okay.
I
Steph, you
just
wanted to
wanted
add
to,
something?
yeah, just one more thing. But before we moved on, they have a 3-game homestand where I think it'll be perfect for him because they said he's out against Sacramento. Presumably, if he doesn't play in Utah, they play Portland, Minnesota, and Phoenix. Minnesota and Phoenix, especially, are perfect games for him to really get his feet under him and get back up to speed to where that team is already playing at. And it's once we get to January, February, the run that they're gonna go on is about to be insane. They might hit 20 games.
Honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be shocked. Like they do not lose. But last player I wanted to go over in this segment is a player whose team has been doing a lot of losing, and that's Brandon Miller. Steph, you brought this one up to my attention before we got on stream. He's probably going to come back soon. Looks like LaMelo's back in the lineup right now too. So Charlotte's getting some of their pieces back, and we've seen a lot of good stuff from Conk and Nipple as well. So with having what looks to be their top 3 guys back playing together, do you think this team is going to win some more games? Do you think it's just going to be like Brandon Miller looks good but still losing, or what do you think is the trajectory of this Charlotte team with him back?
I mean, it doesn't change their trajectory too much in my eyes. I think it helps them compete a little bit more. I mean, of course, it's not saying much considering you're adding one of your top scorers back. That's any team, but I think it more so is going to be a case of what does Brandon Miller look like, because he's been injured a lot as of late. Are we seeing development from him? Are we seeing him become the player that we thought he was going to end up being? Are we going to see him start to become a star and truly be, the second option next to LaMelo Ball? Because we've seen flashes, of course, but we haven't seen it sustained over the course of a season. And I think that's one of the things, at least for me, what I'm looking for. I'm still not expecting this team to win too much, but now with Nipple playing very well, you have Miles Bridges. He's back playing very well. If we could get good amount of games out of you and see where you're at, it makes it easier to have a direction as to where we're going.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where his development continues as well. I think the other component I want to see is just how do Brandon Miller and LaMelo actually play together? Because they haven't actually played together that much yet because they've both been so damn injured. So hopefully they can actually stay healthy and we get to see a significant sample size of how they look, especially on the offensive end, because defensively, I mean, we know things aren't great for them on the perimeter, but offensively, how are they going to look together? How cohesive can they be? Can it be a very good sign of chemistry? I mean, they've got a fun little mismatch of competing guard play right now between LaMelo and Colin Sexton, and I think they've finally gotten to the point where they've recognized Sexton as best off of the bench, which is good. Now, how do LaMelo and Brandon Miller end up fitting in that starting lineup together? I think that's the biggest thing I want to see, because I think they've only played like 40 games together, which, given this is Miller's third season, is certainly less than you would like it to be. So that's the thing I'm monitoring the most outside of just Miller's continued development, especially in the defensive end. I want to see if he can become at least an average to slightly above average defensive guy, because I think that's a big needle mover for this team. The offense is going to be good. It's just how can they get that defensive improvement, and how can Miller end up playing next to LaMelo, again, provided they're healthy.
Yeah, and I even think, I mean, kind of like what with you were saying, Steph, like as the second option to him, I feel like really for this team to reach their most potential, I could see him being that first option. Not like right away, but I feel like in time he should be the first option. LaMelo should be the second option, because I feel like, we've seen LaMelo for years now, and I feel like he's just not going to be an efficient player. I know we talked about this a little bit on stream last week. And Brandon Miller maybe hasn't been totally efficient himself either, but I think he has all the tools to be, especially if he had like the right shooting coach and everything. I feel like he has a really smooth game, like to put it simply. And if you give him the keys offensively as that first option, and then LaMelo maybe plays more so like a, I guess this is kind of a bad example because he's injured right now, but when he's healthy, like Darius Garland with Cleveland, I think that would help maximize the Hornets a little bit better, even so.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of things they have to experiment with and kind of see how it all fits. Just like you mentioned, I mean, they really haven't played together. So we kind of just have to look and see like what it looks like naturally before you even kind of start fidgeting with it and putting them in different situations. I think I'm almost mostly just excited to see like, can they make magic happen and really complement each other well? Because I think they have the skill set to do so. Absolutely. It's just really just a matter of seeing it. I really hope this team doesn't end up being one that just continues to struggle year after year and just has that constant battle of like, when they're healthy, because I think they do have a lot of fun pieces. And I mean, I've been hitting on a lot of draft picks like LaMelo, Brandon Miller, then now with Con Knipple. Like they've been getting a lot of good pieces. Even Ryan Kalkbrenner, I think is how you pronounce it. He's been holding down for him. Looks like they might finally have a big. So they've been doing a lot of good stuff as far as roster moves. It's just, a matter of being able to see it all put together on the court.
And can I just say too, like, I feel like maybe part of the problem for the Hornets for a while is they've just had like some, it's going to sound crazy. They just have some nasty like forwards over the course of the last like several years. Yeah, they have good ones. Like, of course, Miles Bridges and Con Kniple's played pretty good this season too. But I just feel like there needs to be like, okay, like more determination, like at that position. Like it's been so many years. This front office has not really found like that surefire guy. And I think Miles Bridges is the closest thing we've fully seen to that. But even with him, well, one, like not to mention that like he missed time for the one season, but also just the fact that they haven't really had a guy where it's like, okay, you could look at him as being like the forward of the future. Brandon Miller to me like has the potential to be that. And you pair him alongside LaMelo Ball, and then their center rotation, I feel like has looked pretty decent this season. I know it's not perfect, but comparing that to recent years, it looks pretty good. So that's kind of just the one thing. Like there's just been some nasty forwards over the last several years in Charlotte.
Shout out Grant Williams.
Yep, exactly what I was going to mention.
That's so nasty. I saw the clip actually today about, if you remember when he said, I'm gonna make them both to Donovan Mitchell, and then they got Donovan Mitchell's perspective, and he's like, buddy, like you went over and hung on the rim and acted like that was the rim's fault or something. and then Grant Williams went over and he's like yelling at the ref or something, who was Tony Brothers. And he's like, don't be mad at me. You can't make an effing free throw. Like getting roasted by Tony Brothers is a next level
crazy
thing.
Yeah.
Hey man, Grant's a legend. I'm not gonna let you disrespect him. Don't forget about Game 7, Grant. I think it was a Game 7, definitely a closeout game. But Grant Williams, that's Batman. That's Batman right there. So, anyways, that kind of covers all of the returning players that we were gonna cover for today. But from here, next segment I wanted to go into is a little game of contender or pretender. And now that we've had a little bit more time to evaluate teams, see how they play, see some different lineups, and just kind of get a better sample size overall for these teams, you have your obvious contenders at the top. Like we're not going to be talking about Denver. We're not going to talk about Oklahoma City. I'll be honest, I don't have New York on here. Just because I think all these teams have mostly lived up to expectations. I know New York maybe a little bit less. We're going to talk about them shortly. Don't worry. But yeah, just pretty much what we're going to do here is talk about some teams who might be there on the border. I think might be able to go either way. And when I say the team, you guys can just kind of go around. Just give me like literally one word: contender, pretender. If everybody says the same thing, we can just move on. If we have some differing opinions, we can discuss. That way we're not. If we're all in agreement that somebody's a pretender, I feel like there's not really a reason to go too deep into it. But yeah, really, first team here I wanted to touch on, as you know, chat has mentioned here, is the Lakers. So, Lakers, contender or pretender?
Contender.
I'm gonna play the opposite.
Very
Pretender.
fringe contender for me. Like very bottom of tier 2, but they're there.
I'm going pretender.
I'm team contender. I'm not gonna lie, but we do have a differing opinion. So, Garrett, why are they not a contender?
I just think that in order for you to contend, and in my opinion, there's going to be a lot less in the West just because the Oklahoma City Thunder exists and the Denver Nuggets exist. And those are the two teams, in my opinion, that are really going to, run things here. Now, there might be some other teams that are, contenders maybe above the Lakers, in my opinion. But I do think that we saw the game recently against OKC. Granted, no LeBron, but also granted, no Jalen Williams. So, I mean, you can play it however you want, but this is a well-oiled OKC team. And also, Denver is not really on their own too. I just feel like I'm looking at two teams right there that I don't see any way the Lakers get past either of them. They're going to have to hope for maybe luck on their side, maybe like someone bounces out the other team, whether it's Houston, Minnesota, or just like someone in that mix, Portland, San Antonio. I think a few things would need to go right before the Lakers can get through. And then if they get to the finals, they're going to have to beat whoever comes out of the East, where I do think there's some championship contenders over there. So I'm gonna go pretender.
There ain't nobody in the goddamn West besides Denver and OKC that can fuck with us. That's
I just said those two teams though.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm gonna just start there. We've already played Minnesota twice, belt twice. The first game against the Warriors was a nasty game, but realistically, 7 games against the Warriors, it's gonna be us. There's no question about it. San Antonio's not ready. They're close, not ready. The Rockets also close, not ready. Denver and OKC. Now, if we have to see Denver in like the first round or something, say we somehow, some way, because we know what the West is, we lose a game or two, we fall lower, we have to play 2 seed or even 3 seed because that's where Denver is. It might get a little nasty. I'm with you, but we have Luka, not AD, and that's the difference. I got faith in Luka now. I got faith to wheel us.
I've seen Luka do some nasty things to some teams. Those Clipper teams in like 2020, 2021, they were good teams. And look at why he might not have came out on top. A, he was younger. I think now's the best we've ever seen him. And 2, he has 2 guys next to him that I think are better than was on the Dallas rosters at that time. Now, 2024 Dallas, different conversation. But at that time, Luka, who is not as good as he is right now, he can go and get you some games.
I'll give you this real quick, and then I want to hear why Devin has him kind of as fringe. But, of course, we've seen Luka year after year where eventually he gets to a point where he gets fatigued. This is the first year where we're looking at Luka and, he's more in shape. So I will give you that. Like, maybe that is the recipe to success. No pun intended, right there when I was talking about. But I do think that we're going to have to wait and see how that goes. But until then, I'm just going to play it a little bit safe. I think that there's a couple teams in the West that would take over them.
Yeah, I'm certainly not confident in them at this point. I think I'm much more sold on the fact that it is Luka, and we've seen how elite he can be in the postseason. We're seeing how good Reeves is to start the year. We know LeBron can be effective, even if it is still just as a third option. He's going to be a effective postseason player for the Lakers. What is it outside of that? Especially in the offensive end, can Rui continue to play near as well as he has to start this year? Can a guy like Marcus Smart be a productive postseason rotation guy for them? How does the center rotation look, or do they really feel like they're getting in a tough spot in terms of some of their big matchups in the postseason again? And defensively, then at that point is, how does that match up? We've seen some interesting schemes from Redick. I like some of the things he's done on the defensive end because, as he said, they are going to have to out-scheme a lot of nights, a lot of teams, because they just don't have the pure one-on-one defensive talent, which is true. And you can get away with that to a point. You can get away with that against certain teams and certain matchups and maybe a little bit more in the regular season. And although those schemes are very important in the postseason, not having that top-end defensive talent can be a struggle to be able to get over the hump and win some of those tough series. So I have a lot of questions. I think that top end talent does give them a very slim chance if some luck goes their way, which, let's be real, you need to usually have luck go your way to win a title. But I'm very much not sold on a lot of things, and they're pretty much at the bottom of anyone I'd consider a contender right now.
I can see that. I mean, there's flaws for sure, but I think that's valid points on both sides. Like, I don't know, you compare defense to like OKC and everybody's gonna look bad. Like even Denver's gonna look bad, to be honest. I think even OKC's like here and Denver's like here. Then like maybe everybody else might be a little bit lower than Denver. I don't think they're too far separated, but I think clear contender for sure. But okay. So next team I wanted to talk about is the Spurs.
Hold on.
Oh yeah. Oh, you got something else?
Hold on. Who do you have as contenders, Devin?
We gotta go through.
Wait. We gotta go through them, right?
Give it time. We're getting
there. Yeah, but he said bottom tier. It's like I gotta hear what the list is.
Hey, bro, that's the segment. I feel like everybody. Is there any objections if I say like OKC, Denver, New York? Like, does anybody have? Would anybody say any of those are pretenders?
Wait,
New York.
Between OKC, Denver, and New York, yeah, Knicks. The Knicks.
No, not between, just in general.
Not saying who's better or worse. We can, if we want to just say OKC, then we can go through every single one and say pretender because they're worse than OKC. It's a boring ass conversation.
I thought you were. Oh, my bad.
Boring ass conversation.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. My bad.
Next team I wanted to go through is Spurs. Once again, just one word: contender or pretender for this season.
Fake.
Pretender.
Wait, you said contender?
I said pretender.
Oh, okay.
I'm also, so we're all a pretender.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just too early.
Yeah.
Glad we're in agreement there. I think next year though, it's a little bit of that guard development. They'll be looking real good. Timberwolves.
Pretender.
Yeah.
They're butt, and I've been saying it for the last 3 years, JELSON.
Whoa.
Yeah, they just didn't do enough to get over the hump to me. JELSON, man, he's not even here to defend himself, man. It's
My
crazy.
fault. You right.
Hey. All right.
Nah, stand on that. They're fake.
Oh no, I stand on it, but I'm gonna hold off on it so he can defend himself.
Okay. Contender or pretender? Houston Rockets.
Contender.
Or a contender.
They're the ones I consider a fringe contender.
I'm pretty firm contender. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, I don't hate that because they're tier 2 for me. They're definitely not. Now, if Freddie was healthy, I may feel slightly different, but as constructed currently, they're definitely tier 2 for me. They're not in the OKC Denver conversation for sure.
Yeah.
Well, right now,
that's exactly where I am. No, you're good. I was just agreeing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, right now, for one, this team has, in my opinion, size to a degree that could maybe mess with OKC or Denver. That's why I think that, one, that, and then also the fact that still integrating new pieces, they don't really have a total point guard. Right now, I know it's maybe not totally sustainable, but I'm pretty sure they're first in the league in 3-point percentage. They're first in the league in points per game. I think in points per game and then opponents' points per game, they're top 6 in the league. And the only other teams that are right now are OKC and Denver. So when we're talking about like juggernauts, maybe in the Western Conference, I feel like they got to be in there. They're lower because, well, we've seen Denver win a title with most of this core. We've seen OKC win a title just last year, whereas Houston, this is all pretty new. So they probably are at the lower end of that like epsilon of contending teams, in my opinion, but they got to be somewhere in the conversation. That's why I'm going to put them as contender.
I would say I'm very high on them. Don't get me wrong. I'm high on I'm in at PG. I'm just high on them in general, but I don't know if they're completely ready. But I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying anyway. But what you think, Gabe?
I mean, I think that defense is going to transfer to the playoffs for sure. They just have so much size. Like I think they're just going to be hard to score on, especially when the game slows to half court. You know, you don't need as much like transition, run and gun type people. Playing heavy minutes. And then, just having the KD element, as long as he's healthy, which I think in this context, we're all assuming health. In that case, I think his offense is just so steady. He doesn't really need a lot around him to keep that going. I mean, Shea is kind of different, but I think it's kind of a little similar to, even if the rest of OKC, they're missing shots, they can't hit a three, the offense is just kind of struggling. He can kind of take them through stretches and just kind of bear that load. And with Houston, I think KD can do that slightly less, but I think that the talent around is maybe a little bit more consistent on the offensive end. Obviously, the whole product's just not as good, which is why they're not OKC. But I think they do have a lot of recipes for success. Like, I think they looked pretty good last year, and I think they've been much improved with the roster moves. I mean, instead of Jalen Green being your go-to guy who gives you one good game in a 7-game series, you have KD, who's probably going to give you at least like 4 or 5, I'd imagine, at least on the offensive end.
And I just want to combine two of your points because you said both of these things, but I don't know if you were thinking it together as well. But when you said the game's going to slow down, I feel like there's nobody you want more than Kevin Durant when the game slows down. He's the perfect guy when you need a bucket. And the perfect example is the other day against Orlando. If you guys saw that, like they had to, go into overtime. Şengün was the one who hit the shot to get him there. But in that last play where it's like, all right, we need one more bucket to put us up 3, potentially 4. And he just cleared everyone out. I think someone came up and set a screen. He's like, get out of here. Like, let me just go to work. And I'm pretty sure it was Tristan da Silva. On
it was Amin trying to come set a screen. He's like, what are you doing, bro?
He's like, man, I'm Kevin Durant. You know what?
Yeah, like, what are we doing? I'm gonna get to this hezzy cross and pull whenever I get separation.
He's timeless.
So huge.
KD's timeless.
Pause.
What?
You say he's so huge, but go ahead.
No, I said it's so huge to have that. I mean, I guess that's
see, I didn't hear the have that part, but my
Hey, you said you saw it happen in that Bucks game, man. That foot was just 1 inch too long.
Massive.
Wait, what was the last 4 words you said? No, I'm just kidding.
It was crazy. Hey, cut that out.
Just clip it.
Hey, yeah, clip that out. So next one is a fun one. We gonna go over to the Eastern Conference, and we're gonna not talk about anybody on the Rockets. But we are gonna talk about his brother though, because are the Pistons a contender or pretender?
Contender.
This is where I'll say fringe.
Okay.
Fringe contender.
Fringe contender.
Yeah.
Devin, you said contender?
Pretender.
And then Steph, you said.
Okay.
I said contender.
Okay, so we got dang, we're split again. All right, Devin. What? Tell me your thoughts here.
I've been thoroughly impressed by them this year. Just want to say that at the gate. They have certainly been better than I expected. However, I think outside of the massive leak from Duran, which kudos to him, I did not see this coming. I feel like a lot of their strengths they've gotten better at, but a lot of the weaknesses I still had about them coming into the year have not changed whatsoever. They haven't been addressed. They haven't had anyone break out to improve it. And that's still holding me back right now. Certainly the defense is great. Certainly Cade is going to continue to be their star, and Jalen Duran looks like he's ready to be the number 2, regardless of whether Jaden Ivey wants to say or not. Duran is taking that claim. So kudos to him. However, the offense as a whole, I still have a lot of concerns about, despite it being relatively effective so far. I think against tougher competition in a postseason, when scheming is at an all-time high, when you can really take the time to make sure a team's weaknesses are exploited, I think that's where Detroit may come into trouble. And Cade, outside of him now, I still don't love their secondary creation, their secondary ball handling ability to be able to take some amount of pressure off of him. Now, shout out to Dennis Jenkins. He's been great, and maybe that's going to be the answer and the only bit of an answer I've seen to their weaknesses so far. And if so, that's going to be crucial for them. But I need to see a little bit more than the week and a half sample size we've seen so far. The other big concern I have is just what does the spacing and the three-point shooting continue to look like, and how does that then become an issue for them in the postseason when teams really aggressively start helping off of some of their wings and really sending their attention to Cade? They've seen some improvement from some guys. Isaiah Stewart, notably, who looked like he kind of gave up as a three-point shooter a year ago, has now come back and looks like he's a little bit more viable from there. But guys like Asar, who has improved as a playmaker, but still not a three-point shooter. Guys like Ron Holland, who's certainly still not a three-point shooter. Guys like Javonte Green, who's certainly still not a three-point shooter. Where does Jaden Ivey fit in? As although he became an improved shooter last year before the injury in a small sample size, not necessarily a respected three-point shooter yet. That's my biggest concerns right now. And those are things that we've seen time and time again, teams be able to easily exploit any team that has those issues on the offensive end when it's all centered around one star. Until I see those mitigated a little bit more, whether that's via internal development or an addition, I'm going to have some concerns about them. Defensively, they're great. I think they'll figure it out eventually with the right additions. But as the roster stands right now, I'm just not quite there yet.
That's going in a short.
So
that was very convincing.
Here's my thing, and this is why I'm fringe, because I want to leave it to Steph after, because I know he's been high on the Pistons. I do like this team. I feel like that they have a lot of players that they didn't change up their core too crazy this offseason, and I think people were looking at the Cavs and the Knicks as the top two before the year. People were just kind of overriding Detroit, but they kept their core. You know, they got a few guys who can shoot, maybe like Duncan Robinson, and like Karis LeVert shot well too. And actually, both those guys right now, I'm pretty sure, are hanging around 40%, maybe just over. But as a team, they still aren't a remotely great three-point shooting team. I think they're like bottom half in the league in that department. When you're looking at, the coaching, JB Bickerstaff, we've never seen him go super far with a team. So I have my concerns there. But at the same time, we've also seen that even though they might not be a great three-point shooting team, I've looked at teams like Cleveland last year, who were pretty much the best three-point shooting team in the league most of the year. And then what happens? They go ice cold against Indiana, who, stepped up their defense in the playoffs for sure, but it's not like they were known as like some defensive juggernaut team or anything. They were just missing point-blank threes. I saw the same thing in spurts last year with New York. And I guess to talk a little bit about New York as well, not to go back to JB Bickerstaff, but this is why I can't fully buy in yet, is that they lost obviously 4-2 to them last year in the playoffs, but 3 of those games were winnable. They were winning pretty substantially.
And that's a young team, though.
Yes, it is a young team. I do agree, but is that going to change, or is that your identity? Because Cleveland has been in the playoffs for a couple years, and they blew back-to-back leads against Indiana multiple times. We've seen a team like the Clippers and the bubble. So I'm just saying, we've seen this happen with players who shouldn't be at the point of their career where they're too young to fall for it. And that's one concern I have. Another concern I have is, of course, the three-point shooting. Another concern that I have is right now, out of, every team in the league rated from free throw attempts per field goal attempts, which is how many free throws they're generating in respect to their field goals that they're taking, they rank last in the NBA. So they're not really getting to the line at a crazy rate either. So I have a few concerns. Those are probably the biggest ones. I do think that they are probably a top 3 or 4 team in the East right now. But at the same time, too, we're looking at the East right now. I think right now, hanging around that 7-8 seed, you could see Boston, you could see Miami, you could see Milwaukee with Giannis, you could see Orlando. Would it surprise me if any of those teams beat them in a 7-game series? No, I wouldn't probably bank on them just because the Pistons have been playing better. But at the same time, there is a possibility that could happen too.
You don't trust Cade in the clutch?
Last season, I did not. I do need to see a little bit more from him in that department too.
Leads the league in fourth quarter scoring right now?
He is. But I'm saying, when we get to the playoffs, it's only a week and a half, as Devin said. So I'm not fully buying into that right now, just because they played the Bulls and, it's a couple of these teams where it's okay, there you go.
Okay.
That's fair. I would echo a little bit more of what you said with regard to some of the better three-point shooting teams fizzling out. We see it all the time. One of the few times we didn't see it was with Steph Curry. A lot. We saw it with the Celtics, but that was more so by committee. But, other than that, a lot of the high volume 3-point shooting teams that we saw, at some point they do fizzle out. And, the Pistons are one of those teams that's a great defensive team to where they're going to be in position to have you put up tougher threes, to have you, using the shot clock, getting shots deeper into the shot clock. Now, I agree with your guys' concerns completely. Like I as of right now, it's more so a wait and see, which goes to your point of it's early in the year. We have to see how Jaden Ivey, what his development has looked like. Has he, taken a little step further, even though he's been injured? Can he give us, 22, 23 points per game? If I could see something like that, take that load off of Cunningham a little bit, Asar go to Amin School of Point Guard Physics or whatever you want to call it, and actually, get in that lab as well to take more of the on-ball pressure off of Cade, it would help this team a lot. Now, I guess I would more so realistically say fringe contender. They're truly at this point, to me, a year away. I think it would help a lot more if they were able to still have Malik Beasley, and they were able to if they still had him, then I would be more so fully both feet on that other side of, okay, they're contenders for sure.
And one other thing I just want to say too is I think it helps me put them in the fringe category because they're in the East. Because the same thing that I was saying too about them maybe not being a great 3-point shooting team. And I mentioned teams like Cleveland and New York, they showed series last year where they weren't really hitting. And I feel like other than that, who really is that next team in the East? Probably should be them or, very close to. So you might only have to get through one round like that, and it might not even be your opponent is shooting that well from three. Whereas if you're in the Western Conference, yeah, teams go cold. I mean, the Houston Rockets might have a really bad series from three if they played them, but OKC is still going to shoot at a respectable rate. If you're playing the Warriors, Curry's going to hit a respectable rate for sure. And even if a team they're playing in the West is not hitting threes at that rate, there's so many teams that are guided by veterans that they know how to win games in the playoffs. Whereas in the Eastern Conference, there's not a whole lot of teams, not a whole lot of guys that know what it takes to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. We do got to transition on. I guess just last thing that I kind of wanted to add there is I really don't think shooting is everything. I think you just look at OKC last year, which I mean, literally historic defense, but I was not impressed with their shooting at all through the majority of that playoff run. I don't think they were a great shooting team. I think that was overall their biggest weakness.
I was with Alex Caruso because he wasn't shooting like that in Chicago.
All right. We got to move on. We got to move on now.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
I think next one is a quick one. Atlanta, contender or pretender? They've been good recently.
Pretender.
Pretender,
but I do like what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
They might get
open, but it ain't their time.
Yeah.
Not right now. Not right now.
All right. And then next one I think might be a little straightforward too, but we'll see. Cleveland Cavaliers.
Contender.
Yeah, they're tier 2 contenders.
Okay. Contender, because the East is wide open. This is I thought last year was their time, but this year's even better.
And Donovan Mitchell's the best leader in the NBA. So
I'll say contender, but I'm not even going to address that.
Why?
Because that's crazy. But
how is that crazy?
All right, man. Because nah.
What?
They're
nah.
They're the Cavs are a contender. They're a top 2 team in the conference.
I don't get why that's crazy. I mean, we can move on, but that I think he is.
Nah, we can talk about that one a different time. We got.
Yeah. Okay.
You can keep that on the docket as a future stream topic. But okay, really then, with all that covered, there's one last team I wanted to go over. A little close to my heart. Are the Golden State Warriors a contender or are they a pretender?
They are a pretender, I fear.
Oh,
Phonies.
They're pretenders.
Uh,
Pretenders.
sadly, I think you guys are right, but he just had to rip at my heartstrings a little bit for Curry to get his 5th ring. I guess it's just not going to happen. But yeah, that really leads me to the final thing I wanted to talk about. I know we still got about 15 minutes here, and talking about some of these different teams. You know, everybody said the Cavs were a contender. Pistons were kind of a little bit there, but as of right now, looking at what you've seen this season, who's your favorite in the East right now? If you had to put money on it today, who's coming out?
Can I pick nobody?
Somebody has to make the
I have
finals.
not been moved by anyone, man. I'm really not.
Somebody has to make
Really
it.
not.
It's like the
Hey,
best
Devin,
of the mid.
Toronto's getting up there.
We ain't doing anything. I mean, I'm not getting my hopes up. If we win a playoff series, great. That is the most optimistic I will let myself get. But I'm not even that hopeful of that. But
Hey man, Darko's saving his job.
he did save his job after a bad start. But yeah, if I got to pick a team, maybe I'm going Cleveland. Maybe.
Really? They got to prove it to me, man.
Everyone's got to prove it to me. That's the issue right now. Everyone in the East has to prove it to me. I have seen no convincing sign from anyone right now that I fully believe they can be a contender. And I'm not bought in on Detroit, as I've mentioned. The Cavs, I've seen worrisome signs. But as a whole, I think I believe in them in theory at most. It's just the theory has to become reality. And I'm not convinced by the Knicks, who are the other team that we expected to be that team competing with the Cavs, at least going into the season. So, yeah, right now, maybe the Cavs, but I really need to see a lot more from a few of these teams at the top of the East to be overly convinced.
Where's Jay at, man? I need Jay to spread some Knicks propaganda.
But just with Cleveland, like last season, at this point in time, right now they're 10-5. You guys remember they went 15-0, and then the season didn't end the right way. Of course, yeah, some people missed some games in the playoffs, but ultimately, I think that they blew that series, especially in the latter half of it. This season, we haven't fully seen all these guys playing. It feels a little bit reminiscent of that series because, well, Darius Garland's missed games and Jared Allen's missed a lot of games. I know Donovan Mitchell's already missed like 2 or so, but I think that, this team – it's as crazy as to say, like, it's really hard to just gauge a team like this at this point in time because 10-5 is not a bad record, but 15-0 is even better. And you saw how that team just flamed out, 4 out of 5 games. So I'm going to wait until we can actually see the core 4 playing together with this new group of guys, with Lonzo Ball, Larry Nance Jr., Thomas Bryant, who played the other day, which he hasn't really been playing in the rotation. Don't know why, but if some of these guys like mix together with the core 4, I feel like they should be the favorite to win the Eastern Conference.
It's entirely too early to call in general. So I'm going to just say I'm not standing on this by the end of the year. But it's between Cleveland and Detroit, and I would probably lean Cleveland.
Detroit.
And I'd probably lean Cleveland because they beat Detroit early in the year. Cade only had, I think, like 12 points in that game. It was a bad game for Detroit as a whole, but it's way too early to call. Now, in terms of some of the things I look at, with teams, I say this is the reason I say Detroit partially. They have a winning record in away games. They have a pretty good win differential, and they win at home. But like I said, they lost to Cleveland, and that's the team that Donovan Mitchell has been there before, whereas Detroit last year was their first year being there. So I don't know. As it stands, though, for the conversation, I'll say Cleveland.
And reminder, just real quick, Gabe, and then you can give yours, is that, the Pistons coach, JB Bickerstaff, used to coach Cleveland. And ever since JB Bickerstaff has been coaching that Pistons team, at least from me watching them, the Pistons look shook every time that they play them. Like, that's maybe the one team that could give Cleveland that playoff confidence, especially if they play them in, like, the second round, which has been their biggest nemesis for a while, and they're going against their old rival JB Bickerstaff and his squad. Like, they just never looked ready anytime that I've seen them play. So I don't totally disagree with that, but I think for Detroit to do it, you're going to have to hope maybe it's a Cleveland, New York second round. Maybe New York can beat Cleveland. And then if New York plays Detroit in the conference finals, I think they could beat New York. I do.
Yeah,
it's not crazy.
Definitely.
I think that's a really good chance. Like the way the Pistons are playing right now, I think there's a good chance they end the 1 seed. I would think most people at that point would expect like 2 and 3 to line up being Cleveland and New York. So if the Pistons can hang on to that, I think they put themselves in a good spot. Because anybody 4 and below in the East, like, I mean, there could be an upset, but I think at this rate, like, there's nobody who should have them shaking. Maybe if they get Giannis, like, I mean, Giannis, he can't do it by himself, but they've had some flashes over there in Milwaukee. And when you have a player that good,
I hear you, but after we played them the other night, I was like, bro, this team stinks. Like, they're so bad, bro.
Well, yeah. I think for me, I still got New York, man. And this, I don't know. Looking at what I've seen, I just can't trust Cleveland until I see it. Like, at this point, I feel like we've done this with different teams in the past. Like, it was the thing with the Sixers forever, and you're talking about, like, oh, Embiid's averaging, like, 37 points per game, and this is going to be the year. Then you get to April, and it's like it's just not the year, and something always happens, and it's always something different. But there's just some teams who they just get there, and they don't get over the hump. And they can. They definitely can. But I'm not going to bet on them until they show me that they can do it. And last year, this New York team with a very similar roster, granted they're implementing a new coaching system, so maybe not off to the best start in the world. The offense does look a lot better, though, and that was pretty much, pretty easily their biggest weakness. I think the flow and how they're integrating Brunson looks a lot better, can keep him a lot fresher for when you get deep into a playoff game or into a series and you do need him to take over. And we saw him be really clutch throughout last playoffs. I mean, he hit the game winner to send Detroit home. He, I think, just overwhelmingly always showed out for them when it was necessary. And they were going to beat defending champion Boston, who still had all their guys. I mean, that game where Tatum went out, they were still about to go up in that game. Like, they were winning that, Tatum injury or not. So, I mean, we've seen them do good things. We've seen them get to the conference finals. We've seen them be clutch. We've seen them beat good teams. We've seen them beat teams who they were not favored against. People thought they were going to lose to Detroit last year. And not that, I mean, Detroit definitely gave them a fight, but I've seen them go out, win series, seen them win series they weren't supposed to win. I think now this group has been playing together for longer. I think they're going to be playoff ready. How Mike Brown stuff works out, still a bit of a question mark, but I think the way he's implementing the offense, as long as that sticks, it is going to look better on that end. And I think especially versus the competition in this conference, I would bet on them.
I wouldn't, but that's your pick, and mine is my pick. So there we go.
All right. Yeah, I guess, no counter argument against New York. I guess my argument was too convincing.
The more you said it, the more I thought about it, because like you said, they're under a new coaching regime, so they do have to, kind of get it figured out a little bit. But is Mitchell Robinson going to be playable in the playoffs? Because
he was last year. He started making free throws. Nah, he started making them. He started making them last playoffs.
I was gonna say, while that is true, a bad free throw shooter is a bad free throw shooter. You got a little hot streak. This is this another calendar year, brother. We need you to do that again. You got perennial loser Jordan Clarkson on your roster. So
see, my fear with the Knicks is that, like, right now Brunson is out, but I feel like most of last year they had such a weird run because the furthest they've gotten, 2 wins away from the NBA Finals. But I feel like they played their best in stretches when Brunson was not on the court, and he's their best player, right? So right now, in given time, he's injured. And Cat had a big game the other night. I know Josh Hart as well. And freaking Landry Shamet had like 36.
Oh my
in the one game.
God, he was
like,
hooping.
But it seems like for some reason, I don't know why, but everyone just plays a lot better, more comfortable in some of the recent spurts we've seen with him not on the court.
I know why. Let me tell you why. It's all about rhythm, touches, and being able to get into the offensive flow. When you have a guy who's ball dominant and just has the ball in his hands all the time, you see it all the time. I mean, you know when guys would go and play with prime LeBron and then all of a sudden they forget how to shoot? It's because they're sitting in the corner all possession and they're not getting into a rhythm. It's not like when guys don't touch the ball, it's hard to get into a rhythm. And the way that they've been playing but the way that they've been playing this season, they've been playing Brunson more off the ball. They put him in the corner. They put him into different actions. They have other guys who are initiating offense. And with the system they're running, if it is less ball dominant, more guys are touching the ball, making decisions. At that point, not only does it help everybody's playmaking across the board, but it also just puts them into a position to have more flow even when Brunson's on the court. Tom Thibodeau couldn't coach an offense, so they said, let's play Brunson ball, and nobody got into a flow. With Mike Brown, they've really been focusing a lot in on the offensive end. Defense has struggled a little bit. I'll give you that. Tibbs is really great on that end. But with the offense they've been implementing, they're putting themselves in a situation where if they say, hey, Brunson, take over, you can do it. But they have been doing a lot more to make the offense run outside of just him.
My concern, though, is that you still have players who have come up short in the playoffs, like Cat, like Mikal Bridges, in times that if that's the strategy they're going to go, do you think that eventually, like if a game is close or maybe they're down a couple points, because they're not going to play better without Brunson every single time he's off the court. I'm just saying it felt like most of the times that were most impressive were when he wasn't, especially some of those comebacks against Detroit, the game 2 comeback against Boston, the one game where they won in Indiana. I think it was game 3 or something. Like these are critical moments that it was just weird that he wasn't on the court.
Who am I
and
against,
he's going to be there.
But who are you playing?
What do you mean?
If you're playing against Cleveland, I've seen Darius Garland disappear. I've seen Jared Allen say the lights are too bright. I've seen Evan Mobley go back to taking 6 shots a game. But I've seen these guys shrink too. I've seen them also disappear and play worse.
They're not the comparable, though, to Jalen
That is
Brunson.
the comparison. That is
no. They're not the comparable because they don't have the ball as much as Jalen Brunson. The only guy who is on that team is Donovan Mitchell.
But the worse.
Not when Donovan Mitchell isn't on the floor, who's in the same position for his team as Jalen Brunson for the Knicks.
If the star player is playing 40 minutes, what does it matter? Like, if they're off the floor, obviously those minutes are important. But the majority of the game, he's going to be playing.
But I'm saying, like, in the offense, if you were to look at the Knicks and you were to look at the Cavs, last year, which player, we're talking about Jalen Brunson, which player got the most similar amount of shot attempts, most similar amount of plays created for others, played the same amount of minutes roughly? Who is that guy?
I would admit that it was Donovan Mitchell.
Well,
I don't think he shrinks. I don't think Donovan Mitchell shrinks.
But that's the difference. And when Donovan Mitchell's not on the court, Cleveland loses the edge more times than not. That's what I think it's different.
Hey, man, they seem to choke with him on the court every year. Everybody around him just falls off. They just fall off. So I can't trust anybody.
But they don't play their best with him either, is my point. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, I don't know if I can trust. They got to show me. They got to, specifically Garland, Mobley, Allen, they got to show me in the postseason. I need Mobley to be aggressive. And I need Darius Garland to not fall off a cliff and stay healthy. But they just worry me. I've seen it. I can only go based off what I've seen. And what I've seen from that core is worrisome.
I've seen Donovan Mitchell not be there the past couple of years. So
not be what?
Well, in and out. Well, let me not say past couple of years, but like last year, I think they were in control of their destiny more than any other year. But then he was hurt. He was out some games, and they dropped in a series where it's like At least me personally, I thought that was a series for them to take. I thought going into that series, it was like Cleveland's coming out of this series and it's going to be a year for them. But, you know,
Are you talking about last year or the year when they played Boston and he missed games? Because
did
don't
he
know if I
not
would've
miss
picked-
games last year?
he left early the one game when they were getting blown out already. That game it was like the really bad game.
I might be conflating the Boston year, but nevertheless,
Yeah.
like it's to Gabe's point, like we haven't seen the other guys show up. We literally a guy told us the moments were it was too bright. But with that said, I think I trust the Knicks guys more in that aspect than I would Cleveland. Of course, I chose Donovan Mitchell, but yeah, New York just top to bottom, I trust them a lot more.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll have this conversation a lot more as we go throughout the season. I think these two teams are probably on a bit of a collision course here. But we are at time. So last thing before we sign off here, just want to go around. Any last thoughts, comments? 30 seconds tops. Don't give me a whole spiel. But final, anything that stuck out to you? Just anything you want to highlight before we get off here for the day?
On this day in 2020, the 2020 NBA draft happened. So shout out Anthony Edwards for being the number one pick.
Okay.
Who will I say the first ever player drafted that's younger than me? So there's that.
That's fire.
Man.
All I got is Detroit's putting belt to Atlanta right now, so tune into that.
I'm going to keep giving love to the Jazz, man. They keep surprising me. Lauri's been hooping. Keontae Jordan's been one of my favorite players to watch this year. So no one else is going to talk about the Jazz because it's the Jazz, but they've been very fun watch for me so far this year.
We about to whoop their ass tonight.
My shout out's going to have to be
Don't doubt
to my shout out's going to be Darko and the Raptors. He saved his job. They've been hooping. They've been playing together. They got the defense up. When that season started, they couldn't shoot or defend. Now I'm definitely seeing a lot better play on the court. So we may be talking about them in a stream soon a little bit more in depth. Keep posted on that. Maybe we'll have to do another overachieving teams now that's been a little bit longer. But with that said, that is all we have time for today. So yeah, thanks again for everybody who tuned in. If you are in chat or commenting afterwards, let us know. Back to the first topic. Which players do you think are going to have the biggest impacts coming back to their team? Is anybody coming back going to ruin their team? And who is your favorite in the Eastern Conference? Let us know down below. Leave a like if you're still here at this point. We appreciate you being with us for this long. But yeah, really with that said, we will see you guys on Friday. Hopefully, some of you guys can be in there as well. And yeah. Till then, till we have some more content, keep watching hoops and hope y'all have a great night.